Honyat. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Geek Speak Show, and I'm here with, you guys can go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Jeremy Zuckerman.
Hi, I'm Takeshi Furukawa.
And what was some of the work that you guys did for the last, Avatar The Last Airbender it was, right?
Yes, that is correct. I did the music from the original series,
nice.
and The Legend of Korra, and Takeshi.
And I had the pleasure of doing the Netflix adaptation that just came out last month, or 2 months ago. No, last month.
I have to say, thank you guys so much for the work that you guys have done, because the TV show, I grew up watching it and it has become my favorite. And I have to say, the music is the biggest staple of the animated show and the live action as well. So I just want to congratulate you guys for making my childhood that much more awesome. So what was, any of you guys have any favorite songs that you guys composed, if anything that you guys have worked on?
Can I answer first?
Yeah, well, I got to say, pertaining to Avatar, I'm kind of stealing his thunder, but I love Leaves on the Vine. Leaves from the Vine.
Yes.
It's that's the show wouldn't be what it would be without it, I think. So that's probably my favorite.
I think for everybody in our generation, whenever we hear that, we just instantly feel tears and sadness and everything. But when you created that, like, how special was that for you when you were in the works for it?
That was one of the easiest things that I had to do on the series. It was really interesting. So I just finished season 1, I believe, and I received some notes from the creator, one of the creators, Mike DiMartino, that they were going to have a bunch of songs for season 2, and they needed me to quickly make some demos so that they could give it to the voiceover artists and the actors, and they could record it. And then they could animate to that, you know. So it was like, like the end of the school year where you just like, you feel you just want to knock everything out and have a free summer. So I just like knocked them all out, and I didn't put a lot of, didn't stress over it or like overthink it, and just it came very easily. But, the reason I think it's so emotional is because of Mako's performance. That is, I mean, it's such a simple song, but, and then of course the narrative that's going along with it. And now it has this sort of significance.
Yeah. It's definitely very heartfelt. And so you mentioned in there your guys' kind of practice of how you compose the music. You guys compose the music first and then you animate after. Is that correct?
No. I'll speak for me because I don't know Takeshi, not Takeshi. I'm sorry. Okay. I don't know how it works for Takeshi, but for me, and this is usually how it works. You receive some kind of visual. Sometimes it's called locked picture, which means there's no more time edits. And that's the nicest when that happens, because you don't have to go back and fix it, but that doesn't happen all the time. So what happens is we receive some kind of like QuickTime or some kind of movie file, and work to that, and we line it up in some software, and we could see exactly hit points and moments. And, there's a bit more like there's meetings and things called spotting sessions and stuff like that.
That's really awesome and interesting.
Add anything to
action, there was a scene where we had to. Well, it's the secret tunnel scene in episode 4, where I got to adapt Jeremy's secret tunnel, which was fun, and then I also got to compose my little ditty as well that precedes it. We had to write that obviously before because it needs to be filmed. So I kind of to what Jeremy's saying, sometimes the music has to come before, but it's not always. So it's always a pleasure when that happens. I think it's few and far in between. Yeah,
it's such beautiful music. And when it comes to the animated version and the live action version, what were the 2 different takes that you guys took approaching the different series that you guys had?
Well, I can't speak on behalf of Jeremy for the original because I inherited his musical universe for the live action, and I think that the take for me was to try to respect the source material and then fill in whatever gaps I can. So it was really just about Jeremy had created these pillars, and I'm like the drywall in between the 2x4s, which is like the structural support of the house. In terms of just like approach and thought process, it's just a fantasy. It's a fantasy TV show, so I don't think there was anything like cognizantly I was trying to do special for it. But as Jeremy was saying, with what he did with Leaves from the Vine, I think it's the best when you don't overthink it and kind of just like let your music take its course. So
it was really amazing how you kind of slid it in that episode, at the funeral. and you know, you hear it in the background, and then it's just like, oh, you know, that was one of those things. I was like, I was really hoping that it would be in there, and then it was in there, and I just like so satisfied when I heard that and everything in there. But that's really awesome. So yeah. So
do you want me to talk about?
Yeah, your perspective and everything from animated.
Oh yeah, so there was an original idea Brian Knitzko, one of the creators, had, which was to try to avoid using traditional instruments, traditional Western instruments.
Yeah.
And he had this interesting idea, like, what would happen if you had these instruments that you didn't really understand, and you just were sort of experimenting with them, and it definitely informed the score, but we've sort of learned that it wasn't quite going to work that way, only to do that, you know. So it became this nice sort of like special sauce that gave the score its uniqueness, I think.
Yeah.
But really, you know, as we went on, we were like, oh, this needs like these powerful, like orchestral, epic sort of moments, because this is a Western story, and it's telling sort of like a Western story. But you know, it exposed me to all these interesting non-Western instruments, and I studied some of them and tried to, you know, respectfully use them and understand them as much as I could.
Yeah.
So the original idea was really interesting, but it was sort of a jumping off point, you know, which a lot of ideas are. You know, there's seeds, and then
they blossom into something beautiful.
Something, that you can't predict.
You know what I think, just to kind of piggyback onto what you're saying about the traditional instruments, one difference I felt the way you were using the traditional instruments and I tried to use them for the the live action adaptation, you were able to kind of morph them and make them feel amorphous to the culture, I think, more so. Or maybe I was like stuck. So I'm Japanese or Japanese American. So, you know, when I see a koto, like there's like this inherent reflex for me to use it a certain way. Whereas Jeremy, I think maybe because of his background not being like just so traditionally Japanese, he's able to take it and use it more in an amorphous way, which I thought was really cool. And I was trying to do that for the live action, but sometimes, you know, you're just kind of handcuffed because you're so just ingrained by cultural training.
Yeah, I definitely feel that too with a lot of our cultural practices that we have for our instruments too. It's muscle memory when you play those instruments and everything. And so it's like trying to do something more creative outside of it. It's kind of hard, you know. So that's really cool to get an outside perspective on how your instruments and your way of life and everything. That's really cool. So as far as I don't know if this is out there yet, but season 2 is in the talks for the live action of.
It's been announced. We've been renewed for 2 and 3.
Sweet, awesome. So, what's your plans and everything for are there going to be any changes to the music, or are you going to try to, you know, continue the awesome momentum that you're on right now?
That I can't speak for because they've announced season 2 and 3. But the ink's not dry on my contract. So maybe.
Hey, everybody, get him back on there. He did a great job, everybody. So are there any upcoming projects or any social medias you guys like to plug in for yourself so everyone can follow you guys?
Yeah, let's see. The problem is. Oh yeah, thank you, Takeshi. Thank you for that, because whenever I get that question, I'm like, I don't know. So I did this film for the Sphere in Las Vegas. With Darren Aronofsky's film. With my collective called the Echo Society. We're a composer collective, and we scored this incredible film. It's really more like an experience than like a narrative film. It does have like a sort of vague narrative. But it's a lot more like an experience, and so it's essentially like VR without goggles. You go in this huge space, and it's really wild. Have you seen it yet?
I've seen the outside. I haven't been inside.
It's really cool.
Is it cool?
Yeah.
That's something I still have to experience too myself.
It's like if you have panic attacks, be careful. It's not strobing, but it's just so massive and like strange. Like your nervous system is like, what is going on? Am I, it looks like you're actually in these spaces. So it creates this sort of.
It's kind of like that Epcot Center, isn't it? Like Disney World.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of. I mean, they claim it's a brand new technology, and they had to invent the technology for the cameras and stuff, and then the audio was also like its own system. That's pretty wild.
That's something I really want to look forward to checking out and experiencing myself. Do you have any social medias or anything that you like to plug?
I'm Jeremy Zuck, Zuck on Instagram. That's really all I do social media wise. Oh my God! Thank you, Chandler. I'm so bad at this. How could I forget? Also, we are doing an Avatar concert tour So there's already been some European dates that have happened and 5 U.S. dates. And there'll be a few more in Europe and some in Australia. And then it will take a break, and then it will resume, and it will do a big, like, 100-city tour.
Yeah.
That will do North America, Europe, Australia, I believe, and maybe Asia.
Wow, exciting.
Yeah, so I forgot that.
That's a big one. I'm just on Instagram and X. My handle's Snowing Music, so find me, please.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining the Geek Speak Show today and answering these questions and joining me here today. So everyone out there, go ahead and go check them out. You know, if you guys haven't seen the live action series or the animated series, go check it out right now, because these are a staple of my childhood, and you need to go see that yourself too. So thank you guys so much for being here on the Geek Speak Show.
Thanks for having us.
Yes.